Dharmabytes is brought to you by Free Buddhist Audio, the Dharma for your life. Our work is funded entirely by donations from our generous listeners. If you would like to help us keep this free, make a contribution at freebuddhistaudio.com/donate. Thank you, and happy listening.
And I think I've been aware of not so much maybe war, but conflict, because obviously the two are very closely connected. So I've been aware of conflict, I think, from when I was a young child, if I think about it. And I thought of it when I was young as injustice. So injustice for me sort of equaled conflict. Sometimes it's occurred for me as a kind of just reflection of people that I came into contact with. So I might be somebody I think, well, they're not very nice. They're not treating other people very nice, but they seem to be in a powerful position. They seem to have good things in their lives, and yet they didn't seem to treat other people nicely. And then I would think about other people who I thought, they seem really kind. They seem really a good person, and yet they were suffering or struggling in some way. And my sort of young mind sort of couldn't understand this. And then I sort of came into contact with a word called injustice. And I thought, maybe it's to do with that. And then injustice sort of began to sort of affect me personally, because I grew up in East London, sort of lived near the docks, and there was a lot of racism where I grew up. I knew that people like myself were treated less favourably than others because of the colour of our skin. I just knew that that was an experience that I had and other people were having who were similar to me. And that could be just a kind of not feeling welcomed, a kind of more subtle not feeling welcomed, or it could be a glare, or it could escalate. And I saw around me, sort of little acts of violence, people being shoved and pushed, and this is at school and stuff like that. And I knew as well that those things that might start off quite small could escalate and eventually become very serious. And when I was at school, secondary school, there were some boys that were arrested in my school for an alleged racist murder. And all those little acts I began to think about that those boys had done over the time. I thought, gosh, eventually, potentially led to that, them being involved in this. So I could see that conflict was very present for me, and I could see that it could start seemingly small and escalate to even death. And then I saw that on my screens as well. So, 6 o'clock news. I never liked the news as a child because it would start off okay sometimes, or it would start off really bad. Either way, it was always going to be something on the news that I didn't really want to engage with. But there it was, the news was there, and I was also fascinated. So I was kind of fascinated by the news, and at the same time sort of recoiled from it at the same time. I don't know if any of you had that kind of experience as a child. That was certainly my experience. And I remember my mum's quite an emotional woman, and she would often cry at the news. So if there was some terrible thing that happened in the world, she would be watching, and then eventually she would just start crying. And I just didn't know how to deal with that as a child, because I kind of thought, on the one hand, I felt the pain of what she was watching as well. And at the same time, I was kind of, it's a mixture of embarrassment and a bit like her crying somehow brought it closer to me. Her sort of having that emotional response meant that I had to, had to be more aware of what was going on somehow, because she was impacted by it. I think when I was older, I got a bit sort of, I was still a teenager, but she did this one day and she was crying, and I was like, Mum, we don't even know them. What are you crying for? And she looked at me and she said, they're people like us. That could be my sister, my brother, my child. And I didn't have a response to that. I kind of knew that what she was saying was the truth somehow. I kind of knew that she was giving me a very important lesson. And I credit my mum now for giving me my first sort of Buddhist teaching, even though she's not a Buddhist. Because Buddhism says, and if you were at the last talk, you heard David Mitra say a bit of this as well. Buddhism says that we don't see the world as it really is. We have lots of wrong ways of seeing and therefore experiencing the world. And one of the ways we do this is that we see other people or as very separate from ourselves. So we sort of go around our lives going, well, this is me over here, this is you over there. I'm doing my thing, you're doing your thing. The two things don't really connect or, intersect in any way. And it's really nobody's kind of business what I do. It's kind of, that's how it ends up sort of playing out really often in the way we live. And Buddhism said that's not actually how it is, that we're so much more connected than we could even imagine. And if we actually did experience our connection with each other, we would live a very different way. If we experience it like my mum at that point was watching the TV and she felt her connection with those people on the screens. If we actually went around feeling like, actually, you're as valuable as I am. I actually I'm cherishing myself in the way that I would cherish you, even if I don't know you very much. If we actually had that sort of way of relating to others, we would live a very different way. And Buddhism posits that we wouldn't cause harm to others because of that. And certainly we would probably, even differences that would occur wouldn't escalate into violence and conflict, because we would work for peace, we would work for understanding, we would work for harmony, because we know deep down we are deeply connected to each other.
We hope you enjoyed today's Dharmabite. Please help us keep this free. Make a contribution at freebuddhistaudio.com/donate. And thank you.